What's up, everybody? This is Charlie from Charisma on Command, and welcome to the course on creating amazing first impressions. So whether you're taking this course as a standalone or whether you're looking at it as part of Charisma University, it doesn't matter. This is absolutely foundational and critical. Because if you think about it, think of any amazing relationship that you have in your life. And this can be in the working world, this can be your best friend maybe. Maybe it's someone that you're dating or someone that you already have married. When you look back at all of these relationships, what they all have in common is that you did not know that person at one point or another, right? You're born into this world not with a social circle, not knowing anybody. You make a first impression on every single person that you meet. And it's completely true what people say, that first impressions matter. It's not like you get a second chance to make a first impression, as the old cliche goes. But it's very, very true. And there's a number of psychological studies that back this, but basically, within a few minutes, and it can even be a few seconds of meeting someone, you are categorized in their mind. And this can lead to them wanting to follow up, see you again, work with you, date you, be your friend, whatever, or to them sort of bucketing you in the I don't care, disinterested, even if what you follow up with after those first few minutes is really, really stellar interaction. So this stuff is completely so important, so foundational. What we're going to cover today is a number of things related to the first impression. So we're going to get on mindsets. This is important for everything, but a lot of people go in with backward mindsets when it comes to making a first impression. So we're going to talk about why other people are doing it wrong and what you can do to do it right. We're going to talk about body language, right? There's a lot of things that are going on, very, very small, very, very subtle, but that make other people trust you, that make other people respect you. So that's also very important. I'm going to talk about exactly what to say because a lot of people go in, they're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I don't know how to deal with the small talk. We're not going to go deep into conversation, but within the first couple of minutes, how can you speak in such a way that is going to make the other person interested in knowing more? And if you want to continue on with the other courses to like deeper conversation, storytelling, of course, you are invited to do that. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. And we're going to start now with the mindsets. This is the part that so many people have just straight up backwards. And I want to talk about why they have it backwards, why you might have it backwards, and what you can do to get it straight so that you're laying the groundwork to do this absolutely right. So let's get into mindsets. What is the difference between someone at a mindset level who goes out and makes a fantastic first impression and someone over here who, because of the way that they're thinking about it, even though they might have the tactics down, their mindset betrays them? And the answer that I've seen most commonly coming from emails, coaching calls, a lot of questions that I get is that the wrong mindset is to go into any interaction and ask, how can I impress this person, right? How can I make them like me? And this is really, really, really common. One of two things happen when you go in with this I need to impress them mindset. First off, you've probably encountered someone that is a bit of a name dropper, right? In that first interaction, they're trying so hard to cram all the cool things about themselves, everyone that they met, everyone that they knew, because they really, really want to impress you. That, though we see it in other people, we don't always see in ourselves. And honestly, it can come across very, very clearly if you are trying to impress people. The other side of this that is equally unfortunate is that when I have some people go out and they're thinking, okay, how do I be impressive? What happens is that they encounter someone that they perceive as of a status that is way above theirs. Say that they're interacting with their boss's boss's boss. And when they get around him, they realize, holy cow, this is the CEO, I'm an analyst. The things that make me a good analyst aren't going to impress him. I'm just going to waste his time. Why would I even say this anyway? And so they lock up because they don't feel like any of the things that they would share are impressive to this person. This is just as bad because if you're not making any impression, you're not making a great first impression. In fact, every time that you meet someone and you don't make an impression, you sort of just get bucketed as like chameleon, blends in, blah, disinterested. So if it's not about being impressive, what is it about? And the answer is the same one that advertisers have been using probably for the last 10 to 15 years. And the goal is to evoke a certain emotional response in that person and then have them tie those emotions to you. That's basically what all commercials are, right? When you think about it, you might not know what company is supposed to be for a commercial when it starts. They try to take you on this journey, evoke a sense of, say it's a car commercial, feeling dominant, being in the outdoors, and then boom, at the end, it's the logo of the car. Or if you think of any of the Google commercials, right? They have nothing to do with Google. Maybe it'll have the search bar, but oftentimes it's a story of people who are falling in love, and then at the end, boom, they slap the Google name on it. This is the most powerful way to persuade people. We are not rational creatures. No one cares to hear your resume in the first 3 minutes that you meet them, unless, of course, it's a job interview, in which case you have to balance both. What people are going to decide whether they want to do business with you, be friends with you, date you, is based on how you make them feel. So we're going to go into this now. There are 4 emotions that you need to elicit, and if you do so in any interaction, no matter where you are in the world, you are going to make a fantastic first impression. So let's get into those. So the 4 emotions that you want to evoke in any single first interaction that you ever have for the rest of your life, you can write this down, get it tattooed on your body. It is not changing anytime soon. This is wired into human beings, are these, right? And the sequencing is important here. I'm going to touch on why. But first, you want them to feel a feeling of positivity, lightheartedness, fun. You want them to smile, laugh, chuckle, or just be uplifted by your presence. This part is really important. Because if you think about it, you've probably never had a positive impression of someone and then walked away feeling glum, right? You've got to be somehow uplifted, and that's what you're aiming for with them. So that's the first thing. The second part that you're aiming for is a feeling of trust. This person needs to trust your motives. They need to know that you're not deceiving them. They need to feel like, at the very least, that even based on a short amount of time, that you're not lying to them. And this is one that is going to come through in body language more than anything. The third one, respect. This is where a lot of people try to start and they overdo it, right? When they drop their resume and who they know and all these sorts of things. But it comes third for a reason, because if it comes before trust in particular, you're going to go, okay, this person is trying to manipulate me, right? They're trying to show me all that they know, what's really cool about them, blah, blah, blah. This is why respect tends to need to come after trust. And I can say respect doesn't need to be with respect to anything in particular. Respect doesn't need to be with respect. Really, what it needs to do is it can be domain specific, as in an interview, so you garner respect from showing that you know a lot about Excel or the industry or whatever it is that you're interviewing for. But in the same interview, you can garner respect by leading the conversation. It really can be with regards to a specific topic or just you as an individual. And we're going to focus more on you as an individual because you can take that anywhere. And then the fourth piece, this is one that I see the most backwards. This is the most common one that people put first when they should put it fourth, is showing interest, like serious, genuine interest in the other person. And one of the most common cliched pieces of advice is that if you want to be interesting, be interested in other people, right? This comes from Dale Carnegie. It's in How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is a great book, notwithstanding this piece of advice. But the truth is, it's half complete at best. And you know this intuitively. I mean, I'm sure you've gone out to a bar, or you've interacted with somebody who was high up in your company, or maybe you went to a networking event and you tried to interact with the speaker, and you were genuinely interested, right? You had good questions, you'd been active listening, you were like really focused on them with eye contact. You conveyed to them that you were interested in them, but they didn't seem to care, right? You didn't make a fantastic impression. And the truth is, this is very, very common. The reason is because you don't distinguish yourself at all when you're interested in a VIP. Because guess what? So is every other person that they encounter in that context. And this goes for the CEO at your company. That's a VIP. Goes for the beautiful woman in a bar. There's a lot of guys coming up to her asking questions, genuinely interested in what she does, but she doesn't want to answer it for the millionth time. Same thing with the speaker at the networking event. You can and you should, in fact, show interest in the other person, but you need to distinguish yourself as someone that they should care about by first lifting their mood with some fun, garnering trust, and respect. That's why it comes forth. And if you get this order whacked, you're in trouble. Now, conversely, if you leave this part out, you're missing a big part of it, because this is what really puts it on steroids. And if you think back, or I guess maybe you don't know this, but Bill Clinton is a famous example of someone who really made everyone that he interacted with feel special. Why was he able to do that? Can you just mimic Bill Clinton's eye contact? Well, not exactly. Bill Clinton was the president of the United States, right? If he was interested in you when you walked into his car salesman lot and seemed really interested and had a genuine respect, you wouldn't trust his motives as much. You might not respect him, and maybe it wasn't any fun. But when he's the president, holy cow, does he have trust, respect? He cracks half a joke or smiles at you. You think he's the most fun person in the world. So it works for him to be genuinely interested and make fantastic eye contact, ask questions, remember names of the people that he interacts with. But that's because by default, he already has the first three. So you got to ask yourself in any context, which ones are going to be taken care of for you, which ones will you have to go out of your way to do? So if you are the boss of your company or something, you might already have a certain degree of respect. And if it's with someone that is in your friend group, they might trust you implicitly. So you can hit on these less and less and can jump straight to making them feel good. But do not, you can't just leave these out of a cold first impression because it will never go your way. So now what I want to do is take these 4 elements, and these really are critical. Like I said, you can tattoo them on your body. They're not changing. And I want to go through a number of video breakdowns, do some workshops, and of course just some more information from me to you in front of the camera of how to do these. So let's jump right now into some video breakdowns, starting with the first one, fun.
So I thought that for a fun way to kind of look at how you can enter a room, how you should start, the energy, and any sort of first impression, it'd be fun to watch Will Smith enter a room for an interview. So let's take a look here.
Ha venido a divertirse al hormiguero, Will Smith. Ven aquí, siéntate.
So, do I mean to say that every time that you start a conversation or enter into a room that you need to, extend your arms really wide, pick the person up that you're meeting? Not at all. What I do mean to say is that when you enter a room or into any conversation, there's typically 2 choices that you have. You can enter it like just about every other celebrity with a wave and you walk in and you sit down, or you can mimic the type of energy that he has here. Now, again, I don't mean to say that you need to put on the type of show, but you are typically asked within the first few seconds of meeting someone, hey, what's up, how are you? And most people take that opportunity and they walk in and they sit down like every other celebrity. Hey, I'm good. How are you? It's good. What you should do if you want people to respond positively to you is to be better than good. And some very, very simple ways to do this, and by mimicking this sort of energy just with your words. So what that might look like is saying, rather than I'm doing good, is I'm doing phenomenal, man, how are you? Or I'm fantastic, it's awesome. Like whatever it is that is going on in your life. Now, obviously, this needs to be real in some way. So what I'm suggesting is not just that you shift your words, it's that you shift your attitude. Because I bet if you think back to the people that you are most excited to see in your life, it's those people that are like excited about their own lives. It's those people who walk around and just by their force of feeling good about things, they tend to spread that to other people. I think of myself, I have a very good friend who anytime that, to this day, that I see him and I ask him, hey man, what's up, how are you doing? He gets this big smile on his face, he smiles from his eyes, and he says something to the effect of, I'm doing phenomenal, man, how are you? And he really means it. So I suggest that when you meet people, at the very least, be better than good. Be great, be awesome, be fantastic, whatever word it is, but pick something, and you will see immediately you start the conversation off on a much better foot. Now, the words are not the only thing. You obviously have your tonality in there, you have your gesticulations, but one other major piece of this is your smile. Now, there are 2 kinds of smiles that are very typical. There's the fake smile and there's the real smile. And this example just shows them in very, very stark contrast. You can see here, this is Nancy Pelosi. On the left, you have what is obviously a much more real smile than the one on the right. The question is, what is going on? Now, there's 3 particular things that are going to distinguish physically what makes a real smile from what makes a fake smile. The first thing is that real smiles tend to pull upwards and not just to the side. Now, if you look at the one on the right, that smile is going just left to right. It's like showing her teeth in a cheese fashion. The other one on the left tends to pull up on that upper lip as well. The second thing is that there is typically a relaxed lower jaw in a genuine real smile. And you'll see when people are laughing in their pictures, you can often tell because that lower jaw is even farther down. So a little bit of space between, a little bit of black space in your smile is actually a good thing. When you cheese and you grip them tight, that makes it come across as more fake. But there's one thing that more than both of those communicates a genuine versus a real smile, and that is the eyes. If there is tension around the eyes, this is how most people are receiving whether your smile is real or not. And the reason is because this one is particularly hard to fake. When you smile for real, there are muscles that are not 100% voluntary called the orbiculus oculi, right? Very scientific Latin name. Those tend to pull tighter under and on the sides of your eyes when you are genuinely happy. That's why people get that kind of squint when they're actually excited. When you're just smiling for someone and you're thinking, okay, show your teeth, the eyes stay neutral. So what you need to do is not just think about and realize these things, that is helpful, but you again have to get back to that place of actual excitement excitement to meet people. And the easiest way to do that is to think about how good it can go, right? Whenever you're meeting someone, you have no idea what's coming out of that interaction. It could be amazing. This could be a friend, a future colleague, someone you work with, maybe someone that you date. You need to start getting excited about these things, because the truth is, if you're trying to fake a real smile, it's going to come across as fake anyway. Still good that you know what these 3 things are that differentiate a smile. So, what I recommend then, actually, for this is that you practice this now. Because yes, while you have to have the real smile, what I've noticed is that when I work with some people, they have one thing that just doesn't go for them. Even when they're happy, they don't let that lower jaw relax. Maybe they picked that up as a kid from the way that their parents smiled. So what I really recommend doing, it might sound strange, is pause this, go somewhere where you have a mirror, or if you have your phone and you can sort of just do that flip thing where it faces you, and actually think of something that makes you laugh. It'll actually help to take a video so you don't have to look at it. Think of something that is funny to you. Think of how you might say hi to somebody. It can feel a little bit clumsy on the phone, but just try to get into that mode to see, okay, what would I actually look like to someone else? And what you might find is you might go, oh my gosh, like I have such a tight jaw when I smile at other people. And then experiment with doing it a little bit differently. This is just to fix any sort of grave mistakes you might be making. You cannot completely customize and refine your smile for every situation. This is just to get you out of your own way in case you have any bad habits, which I actually had one, which was that my eyes would go really, really big when I met people and start to freak them out a little bit. So by having my friend catch this, I didn't have a camera at the time because it was many years ago, by having my friend catch this, I was able to work on it in the mirror. I really suggest you do that now. It can make a world of difference in your first impressions.
All right, so I have my brother here. He doesn't know what we're about to do. He has no idea what we're doing. He's probably seen this exercise before. So the first thing I want you to do is smile. There, perfect. So hold it like you had it. Okay, so this is a typical cheese, and Henry sort of knows what we're doing. This is Henry. I should have introduced you. He's got tight teeth. When he first came on, he was nervous. He's like, oh no. He had a dropped jaw. Right now, his teeth were a little bit tight. So do it again. Again, so he's actually got it good pulled up there. If you can, do a fake smile for me real quick. All right, it's sort of down, pulling the air. So real, awesome. You also see his eyes tend to click in. Now, Henry has worked on making this is a fake smile. He's not really that happy to talk to the camera right now. But what he can do is you see as we make a joke, his eyes light up, his smile becomes real, the jaw drops, and it becomes relaxed. So what I would like you to do is practice doing, there's no reason here for you to necessarily have a smile, but throw a smile on by making yourself laugh, or making yourself, or just, laughing at the situation and how ridiculous it is, right?
This is so ridiculous.
All right, less popping eyes.
Less popping
So,
eyes.
like, pretend that you were to introduce yourself to the camera. You're extending your hand, say hi, what's up?
What's up, guys? I'm Henry from Charisma on Command.
Great. So he had some looseness in his jaw. His eyes have that sort of tension going on under them. His smile is pulled up and back. This is an exercise that you can do at home, and you have to do, because truthfully, being able to turn on a genuine smile will change your life. If you're walking around like, hey, nice to meet you. Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, it's really nice to meet you. I don't care how cheesy your smile is. Like, it is cheesy. People do not trust that. You need to have a real smile. The best way to do it, one, is to ask yourself, what areas might you be missing? Because you might not have, like, really developed the musculature to smile real all the time. And the second one, to have a genuine smile, is to genuinely smile, is to genuinely feel it. So what you want to get used to is like, what's up, man? How are you? Like, this is goofy, but I can make myself laugh, smile, chuckle very quickly, oftentimes by thinking about how, silly it is that I'm meeting this person, if I'm excited to meet them, if I'm enjoying what I'm talking about, right? That expressiveness plays out on my face. So to get the genuine smile, really you need to genuinely move towards a happy place. The three things, right? The tension in your jaw, pulling back, tension in your eyes, those are all only semi-voluntary. You can't totally control all of them. What you need to do is get used to feeling happy when you see people, right? Feeling happy when you're talking to a camera and you have no reason to be. Feeling happy when you're high-fiving your brother for the 8th time.
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? And again, the bug-eyed thing that I'm sure you've seen Henry throw once or twice, not the way to go. But hopefully this workshop has been helpful. Take it to your own mirror. Do it. If you want, you can do it in a video here. Just say hi to the camera. And if you're having trouble getting it, again, laugh at yourself. It's freaking ridiculous to sit in front of your home and do this. But if you can learn to sort of giggle, chuckle, then you can genuine smile on command. Now I want to talk about trust. And trust, more than pretty much all of the other emotions that we're talking about today, This is the one that is built non-verbally. This is body language. This is eye contact. It's why when there's a girl out in the bar and she looks over and sees a guy and goes, that guy is creepy, it's why she doesn't necessarily need to talk to him to have that feeling. It's just a gut instinct. And though she oftentimes, in most cases when I've asked women, they can't necessarily verbalize what is making them feel that, subconsciously they're picking up on the way that he is looking, the way that he's peering over his shoulder, the way that his body language is directed in a way that doesn't make them feel safe, and they don't trust his motives. So we do not want to be setting off that tripwire in men or women in any sort of context. This is why trust is so important. So the thing with trust is that it is a virtuous or vicious cycle, honestly, with touching. And touching is really the best way to build trust. When you think about it, as couples get more intimate, it's, they increase levels of touch, and that is both a sign and it helps to build trust between them. So what you want to do is take all of the socially acceptable opportunities to touch other people. And that seems obvious, right? Handshake. If it's out at a social event or a social circle, hug people. Do the bro hug with the guy. That's very different. And you know this, right? Some guy that you're standing there and you go, hey man, have a nice day, versus, hey dude, pleasure to see you, like awesome hanging out, let's do something next time. Those are very different levels of trust. And what you want to do is be moving the ball forward by increasing the amount of touch that you guys have. This doesn't mean that you linger with your hands on somebody's shoulder giving them a massage, but take these socially acceptable ways to touch other people. Here's what I mean. When a lot of people walk into a room, what they'll do is they'll say they walk into a board meeting and there's 12 people around a table, and they walk in and they're presenting and they're a little bit late. What they'll do is they'll sort of wave to the whole group, hey everybody, so let's get started now. And then they go, and fine, maybe they know the people, whatever. But the truth is, if you really want to slam dunk, make a great first impression, the best thing you can do in a boardroom or a social circle, right, when groups of friends are introducing you to this is Mary, this is Tim, this is Tom, you need to go up and shake everybody's hand, hug if appropriate to the situation. If you want, with women, you can do a little air kiss on the cheek. You should take the time to individually greet every single person. If you don't, you are sabotaging the trust that you could be building with the room. And truthfully, it doesn't take that long. Now, it shouldn't take that short either. This is something else I see. Okay, I walk into a room, there's a lot of people there. Hey, what's up? Hey, how are you? What's up? Nice to meet you, nice to meet you, nice to meet you. And nobody ever gets your undivided attention, even for 5 seconds. What you want to do when you're greeting people, give them your eye contact while you speak to them, as well as your hand. You can do the smile. Smile at them, eye contact, hand, nice to meet you. If you want, I'll do a shoulder clap. People who tell you that that's overdone, in my opinion, are weird. They don't know how to touch other people. This is completely normal in my mind. So I would recommend that if you want to start throwing that in. It might feel strange, it might feel clumsy at first, but truthfully, does not have to be. There's no reason. So greet this person. And when I'm done with them, then I turn to the second person. Even if the second person right now has already extended their hand, right? I keep my focus on him, and then I turn to him and go, all right, didn't mean to leave you hanging, right? Hand here, eye contact here for a few seconds. Everyone should get, for just a period of time, very, very short, it can be just a few seconds while you're saying, hey, my name is, glad to have you here. Everyone should get your undivided attention for that period of time. If you're just rushing through, touch, you're not building trust. It's eye contact along with the touch, and that is how you build really, really, really quick trust. So I want to show you a video now that is over the top with how you can enter a room and how long you can take, and honestly how endearing it can be to really greet as many people as possible.
To life. Will Smith is here.
So I'm going to go ahead and pause that right here, but he actually goes to the other side of the audience and continues to do this for another 30 seconds. But the point is made. When you enter a room, you need to touch everyone. It makes for such a better impression, and people begin to trust you implicitly.
So, second piece of trust is this, and I think it is best illustrated in one of my favorite movie scenes from one of my favorite movies. That's right. Aladdin. So this is a little bit cheesy, but I want to drive the point home.
See the world?
Is it safe?
Sure. Do you trust me?
What?
Do you trust me?
Want to pause right here. I got it, actually a great point. When he says, "Do you trust me?" Can you imagine if he were looking down at his feet, right? Or if he were fiddling with his hands? He says, "Do you trust me?" and he makes direct eye contact. Admittedly, a little bit crazy in this particular rendition, but it's a cartoon. The idea is it would be completely incongruent if he were expecting her to trust him without making eye contact. And that is huge, huge, huge. So many people find it relatively easy to make eye contact while they are listening. But the real key is to make solid eye contact, especially while you are speaking. Now, this is something you just need to get better at with practice. And I personally have found that when I was first focusing this and when I fall off the horse and try to get back on, it is actually difficult to find your thoughts while you're looking people in the eye. There's a tendency to look over, up, away. And conversation might suffer while you begin to do this because you're not as witty, clever, and you can't find your thoughts. I highly recommend pushing through this anyway. It's like going to the gym. You build that muscle in time. So make solid eye contact with people, especially while you're speaking. That helps build trust. And then lastly, I just have this video that I think does a really good job of illustrating both of those points to build trust. This is Obama. He's at a memorial service, so you'll see he's not smiling much. But there's all of these people that he needs to make a connection with very, very, very quickly, right? Who want to feel some sort of connection with him. And the only tools at his disposal are basically 5 to 10 seconds and whatever he can do with his body language and eye contact, or I guess he could say. But just watch what he does with his touch and what he does with his eye contact for each person here.
Good to see you, sir. God bless you.
I didn't get a good picture.
God bless you.
I can't get a picture. Kristen, I couldn't figure it. It's okay, don't worry about it.
Thank you.
Here, Daniel.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. President!
This is Ron. Thank you. That's how it's done. This is Ron Harvey. You got it.
Thank you.
We're so proud of you. God bless you. Harry, so nice to see you. Appreciate your service, sir. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
So you can see there, the big thing, he doesn't have a lot of time, he can't make a connection, he's got way more people who want to talk to him than he can possibly talk to. But to quickly build that connection, he touches massively, right? He's in there with the chest pat, he's kissing on the cheek, he is handshaking everyone. While he speaks, he makes eye contact. These are how you build trust amongst people.
My point is that I know you're investigating Stratton, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why. I know we're a little unorthodox, we're a little loud in the way we do things, but you gotta understand we're the new guys on the block, you know, trying to make a name for ourselves. But I want you to understand, we don't do anything illegal.
Look at that. We don't do anything illegal. He has his hands actually revealed to the FBI agent. And that very, very, very quickly communicates, I've got nothing to hide. Now, this guy was obviously lying in this case. So the last thing that you can do, again, to generate both trust and respect. Now we're moving into the conversation. Everything we've talked to up until now is pretty nonverbal with the exception of how you answer, how are you? This is something that is going to generate respect based on what you say. And it is revealing something that is potentially, in quotes, embarrassing about you. So just to give you an idea of what this might look like, you might have seen this before, but this is Jennifer Lawrence after she fell up the stairs at the Oscars and she's giving her acceptance speech, or she's giving her press speech.
And I took a shower and I don't know what I was, that's what I did, and then I got my hair and makeup done. And then I came to the Oscars. I'm sorry, I did a shot before I... Sorry.
So what this does, this is basically the verbal open body language, right? This is saying I have nothing to hide. When you reveal things that are potentially embarrassing or that other people might not want to admit, say you're in a cocktail party and you walk up to someone and they can say, oh, who do you know here? And you're like, to be honest, I don't know anybody. The person who invited me isn't even here, so I'm totally lost. What that does immediately is it generates trust, because that is a potentially embarrassing fact that you're completely lost at this party. But in revealing that, what it shows is that you're not trying to play it cool. You're not trying to be impressive. You are as you present yourself. And that is why people love Jennifer Lawrence so much. If you watch her clips, she gets all these comments, the girl's so down to earth. And what she's doing is she's just not hiding anything. So when you can reveal something about yourself that is potentially embarrassing, such as that you're lost at a party, or you don't know anyone, or like, wow, that's an awkward situation, when you reveal those things, people implicitly trust you because it shows that you are not trying to play at being cooler or more impressive than you would immediately come off.
We've talked about how revealing embarrassing things can lead to both trust and respect, which is pretty cool. You get a 2-for-1. There's other ways to do this as well. And one of the big ones is leading conversation, right? When you lead, and this doesn't mean dominating what's being said necessarily, as much as it does sort of steering the path. What are you guys going to talk about? That breeds both trust and respect, because one, it shows that I don't necessarily have an agenda. I'm not saying whatever I'm saying just to impress you. Two, I'm comfortable enough with myself and you to steer this conversation down paths that fascinate me, to get past the small talk and into stuff that I care about. Now, sort of coming up with these topics is really what we talk about in flowing conversation, expert conversation. I don't want to go too deep into this, but I will give you one quick thing that you can do in your first interactions to do this, because you're going to start exchanging a bit of information about each other. And what you can focus on here, now that you've done a bit of the fun, you've started to get trust, you're building respect, is to steer conversations down the path that most fascinate you by asking questions. So if someone says something and you are truly and genuinely interested, what you can do is say, hold on, like, you got to tell me more about that. Like, so you just went on a meditation retreat? Was it like guided meditation? Did you sit there all day in silence? Like, I'm curious, tell me more. When you start to steer this down the path of something that you genuinely care about, you cannot blow smoke up the person's butt. It comes through when you're just like, oh, like yoga. I was out the other night and I watched a guy try to pick up a girl who was a yoga teacher. And it was so transparent because he came in with one thing. She wasn't really having it. She says, yoga, like, I just really like to sit and connect with myself. Like, do you meditate too? That's so fascinating. And it came across so false because it was false, right? Because he was just grasping at things to do. Now, someone else who really cares, I'm sure their body language would have conveyed like, oh, wait, you're a yoga teacher? Like, no kidding, I just did this awesome yoga retreat. You have to tell me what kind you do, vinyasa, whatever. That is going to be much better than faking it. So, my phone is ringing. That is the end of this clip. We're moving on to the next thing, which I believe is a video breakdown.
It's going to be this one, of how a conversation can develop when you just say what's on your mind. So this is Russell Brand. I'm going to pause it in just a few seconds, but notice how he just speaks what is on his mind.
Hi, Russell.
Hello.
How are you?
I feel very well today, thank you.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. This is your first time here, and I'm happy to have you here.
I'm very honored to be here in this chair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really like it.
Oh, good.
So, take that out. Most people, when somebody asks them how they are, like says they're good or happy to have them there, they go, yeah, thanks for having me. Russell instead just elaborates on that. He actually shares the exact thoughts that are on his mind, which is, I'm very happy to be in this chair. I rather like it. And then Ellen picks that up, and you can watch them ping-pong back and forth in this conversation. So Russell has not cracked a joke yet, but he has set himself up, and I want you to watch how this develops.
Good. You can come sit in this chair anytime you want.
So now Ellen has given him more ammo to crack a joke, and now he sees it. So here he goes.
Thank you. Do you think there will be times when it's impractical?
If someone's in it?
For example?
Yes. It depends on who's in it. They may enjoy you sitting on their lap.
It may lift the interview.
Mm-hmm.
They could be here, and then suddenly I'll be perched on their lap. They'll have to crane round you, but it may induce a kind of sexual energy, perhaps.
Let's try it someday.
Any of your guests, you can select one at random from a hat, and then I'll just come and perch on their knees, or if we feel very adventurous, further along towards the groin.
So there's that big reveal, and it all starts with that initial, I'm very happy to be here in this chair, right? And more on this, I'll have another section, not in this video, on flowing conversations, which I mentioned, which will talk about the exact things that he's doing. And he does have a structure for how he makes these jokes seemingly come out of nowhere. Yes ending, building the world. There's a lot of improv techniques that Russell uses.
This next thing we're going to talk about is so multidimensional. It is so useful in every conversation you have. And it's partially because it will get used and primed by the other person almost every time. And secondly, because when done right, it can build fun, trust, and respect, and honestly bring the other person, allow you to show interest in the other person, all in one thing. And it's this. It's to take the common questions that are asked in every single conversation and spend a little bit of time thinking, hey, how can I reveal my answers to these in a way that is fun, that builds trust, that builds respect, and that shows the other person something about me other than things that they could maybe read on my Facebook profile. And so what are the most common questions? I shouldn't even have to say these. They come up in every business meeting, every bar interaction, every networking, everything. So the first one is, depending on where you are, what do you do, right? This is a question that most people just roll their eyes because they don't, oh man, I have to say I'm a consultant. Crap, that sucks. You don't have to say you're a consultant. We're going to talk about that. Secondly, where are you from? That's really, really common. And then oftentimes there's a third, depending on the context. In college, it might be what's your major. Within a company, it might be what division do you work in. When I lived abroad, it was what are you doing here in Brazil, right? There's certain questions that, based on your life, you'll know that you tend to get. And there usually are about three. The first two are static, and then the third one depends on where you are. But what I want you to do now is think about one of these questions while I am sharing with you the best way to go about answering them for you, and then start to workshop your own. We're actually going to have a live workshop with a volunteer, or maybe not a volunteer, with someone who's going to come onto the camera and do it live so you can see it, but just be thinking about it now. These questions get asked in every single conversation, and what normally happens is people shoot the conversation in the foot and leave it to walk off to its death. So somebody goes, hey, what's up, how are you, hey, good to meet you, like, who do you know at the party? Oh, Casey, yeah, what's your story, what do you do? I'm a consultant. Oh, really, cool, like, I work in advertising. Nice, nice, where are you from? You know, I grew up here my whole life. Awesome, cool, yeah, what about you? I just moved in a couple months ago, I live in Tennessee. Cool, okay, I'm going to get some punch, right? The conversation just dies. The truth is there were a lot of opportunities in that conversation to take it somewhere where you guys might connect, but people answer these questions on the surface level when what you want to focus on is driving down and answering why. So think of it this way. When someone asks you, what do? You don't need to just answer your job title. What you can actually answer is why you do what you do. So say that you're a consultant, as I was, or whatever. I'm a consultant, or why you love it. I'm a consultant and I love it because I get to do X, Y, and Z. I get to work with all these people. I got into it, but what I'm actually trying to do is become an artist because I realized that Excel isn't for me. Whatever it is to you. So spend some time thinking about this. Ask yourself the following questions. How can you answer what do you do with why you do what you do? What you love about what you do. If you hate what you do, don't talk about why you hate it. Talk about what you would love to be doing instead and how you're moving there. So there was a time in my life when I worked in an office. I wasn't particularly thrilled about it. But when people asked me what I did, I'd say, so I spend my days, you know, just crushing Microsoft Excel, but honestly, what I love is music. I'll just come home and crank for hours and hours on guitar. So it feels like that's what I do. That gives them something else to talk about. Now, what you want to be thinking about in all of these answers is something called open loops. You don't want to talk somebody's ears off right at the beginning of a conversation. So a bad way to do this is to say, you know, I'm a consultant, I went to school at UVA and I studied really hard and I got good grades, so then I went there. But actually after that I switched and I started to do my own thing. On the side, I really like music, but on top of that, I've been spending a lot of time, you know, going to this. Like, now I'm talking, terse. The person might not care. So in a couple of sentences, what you want to do is give them the opportunity to follow up with a question. And you need to plan on this. Give them that opportunity. So hint at something that is really interesting. So what I might have said back then is, I'm a consultant, but honestly, I love music. Like, I spend all time, I just crank on my instrument. And so it feels like that's where, like, you know, that feels like that's what I do. When I say my instrument, that right there is an open loop. They can go, oh, what instrument do you play, right? That is something for them to ask about. So think, how can you create open loops? How can you create in your answer questions for the other person to follow up with? So you might just say, I just got back from living abroad. It was the most amazing experience learning a different language, right? Oh, what language did you learn? Where did you live? And you want to take these out, because you might think, oh, that's fascinating, and the person will surely want to ask me another question about this, but they might not. So you're going to take these sort of answers out and go test them in real life. And you'll start to see how tiny shifts in what you say make for completely different reactions. Like, I'm still experimenting. I tell people sometimes I'm a writer, sometimes I tell them I'm an author, sometimes I tell them I'm an entrepreneur, sometimes I tell them I've been running an internet business. And all of these things tend to get different sorts of questions. Some of them lead to us connecting more often, and some of them don't. So I'm testing this as I go, as should you. So there's a number of ways to answer all of these questions. That's what you do. Where are you from? Think of where are you from, not as, please tell me the city where you were born or the city where you currently reside. Think of it as, why do you live where you lived? Or what do you like about the place that you grew up versus the place that you currently live? So when I was in Brazil, where are you from was a question I relished in getting, because I knew I got to talk about a lot of the things that I cared about. And people would say, so where are you from? And I'd tell them, well, you know, I was living in New York, but people there have this very work hard, play hard mentality. Honestly, it's work hard. And I didn't feel a connection with a lot of the people there. So even though I had a decent social circle, I visited Brazil once and just fell in love with the culture. How touchy people are, how friendly, how affectionate, how they invite you over to their houses after knowing you for 15 minutes. And I could reliably say that as I would tell people about this, which was all true, a smile would brighten on their face, and they'd immediately want to talk about Americans versus Brazilians and the good life in Brazil, and oh wait, but New York must be so fascinating. And we could then talk for 20 more minutes on topics that I brought up then, which brings up another point that I want to touch on. And again, more on this in the conversations piece, but just to dabble, this is something that I like to call Velcro theory. When I answer the question, where are you from, and I say Philadelphia, I've given one loop, one hook for someone else to talk about. Maybe you've been to Philadelphia, boom, we have some Velcro. When I say I'm from, I was living in New York, but it's work hard, play hard, and I came to Brazil and I visited the people and I fell in love with the culture, they might not have any of these first things that they care about, but they might connect with something at the end, and that then gives us a conversational path that we both care about. So what you want to do is a combination of leave open loops, so you're not talking someone's ear off of, but leave probably 4 or 5 possible conversational threads open that the person can run down. Maybe they want to talk about your specific job. Maybe they're interested in where you used to live. Maybe they're interested in why you love your new city because people are so outgoing and friendly. These sort of mindsets, as you're crafting your answers to these questions, are going to be so helpful. So I talked for a lot. I rambled about this. I think what is going to be really helpful is to see some examples. So I want to go to the tape, and then I want to do some workshops. We'll get all of this stuff done so you can see it. And as I'm going, again, work on writing out for you what some good starter answers are. Take them out into your interactions and start to use them, and then tweak them from there. Okay, so I'm back here with Brother Henry. He doesn't, what we're going to do there. So what I want to cover right now is how to deal with the most common questions. We worked this out a while back in Brazil, but I'm curious. So if I were to ask you where you're from, what's your answer?
Well, I'm from Philadelphia, but I recently moved to my favorite place on earth.
Fantastic. Which is where?
Which is where I live right now, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Nevada. So, not bad, right? The truth is that a lot of people would just say, I'm from X or Y or Z. I'm from Philadelphia, and not add anymore. What Henry does is he does leave an open loop. I've recently moved to my most favorite place on earth. That begs, I mean, there's no way I can't ask the question. So I say, okay, where is that?
Right.
And you say,
Las Vegas, which is awesome.
So what I might do here is that the person, truthfully, might dip off at that point. Oh, really cool. Maybe they'll ask what you like about it. I would follow up, if I were you, with another couple sentences, potentially with an open loop, speaking to why you like Las Vegas. So you're from Philadelphia, you live in Las Vegas. Go ahead.
Well, I love Las Vegas because of the weather, the people, and it has the best nightlife in the world. And I'm the type of guy that loves going out and meeting new people.
Yeah. So I might, just to simplify it, the weather's true, the people are true. I might just cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
So, we start at the beginning. I say, what's up, man? Where you from?
Oh. Call me. Yo, what's up, man? I'm Henry.
Yeah, you're from Philadelphia.
I'm from Philadelphia. But I'm actually living in my most favorite place in the whole wide world.
Okay, and just so you know, you might have to speak up because my mic is the one catching.
Greatest place in the whole wide world.
Okay, which is where?
Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm supposed to answer this better, aren't I? This is tough.
So I'm living in Las Vegas.
Right.
I love it because every single weekend, right, or whatever it is for you.
So every single weekend you can go out to these amazing parties, these amazing DJs, and they have some of the best food and people I've really come into encounter with. I've encountered.
Sure. So, and again, keep it short and simple. So what I might go is Philadelphia, Las Vegas. So I live in Las Vegas. It's my favorite place in the world. I love it all the time. I get to meet people from all over the world. They're super friendly. They're here to have fun and party. And it's cool because I've gotten to meet friends from almost everywhere that I could ever want to visit, right? You add some of these things and then ask yourself at the end of this, could it use another open loop? The truth is we can work this out on and on and on down the road here, but what's going to be most useful is for you to do a little bit of workshopping at home. So you're going to say, I'm from here, but I live here, but I moved to my most favorite place. Maybe that's something. Leave an open loop so that they ask you, oh, what is that? Then you're going to just go out, try the second piece, and see how people react. The truth is you're going to get fairly consistent reactions. If Henry goes out, says, what's up? I'm from Philadelphia, but I moved to my most favorite place on the entire planet. I guarantee you, 90% of the people are going to say that. You want to change it?
I want to change it.
Go ahead.
What's up, man? I'm from Philadelphia. I recently moved here from Brazil, but now I'm living in the best place I've ever lived.
Really? Better than Brazil? What's that?
Well, Brazil is awesome because it has beautiful people, beautiful beaches, but now I'm living in Las Vegas, which has the best nightlife and some of the best things you can do all during the week.
So you're like a party animal more than a beach guy?
Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
So now we're into part of conversation where he can talk to stuff that he cares about, right? He can tell stories about Brazil. He can tell stories about Vegas. I like that you added Brazil because when you're thinking about all the different loops, that person might have lived in Brazil. They might want to go to Brazil. He's just adding another layer for them to dive into. And the reason that we focus on this is because a lot of conversations will go the direction of, hey, what's up, man? Where are you from? Philadelphia. Oh, cool. I'm from California. What do you do? I'm a doctor. Oh, cool. I'm a lawyer. Silence, right? What he's allowing us to do is find other threads that we want to talk about. So let's go to the other one. And I know that should be interesting because what you do is, who knows?
Who knows what I do?
So what do you do?
So recently I was working at the bar. I was a bartender.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now unemployed and working and helping with my brother and looking for a new job that I actually care about.
Okay. So honestly, that doesn't necessarily inspire me to ask what you want to do.
I want to do this again.
Okay, go ahead.
So I dropped out of school to do something I'm more passionate about. Yeah, I would end it there.
Okay. So I mean, maybe you say, I was a student, but honestly, I dropped out, and now I'm doing something that I'm more crazy about, right? Same sort of principle is at play, is that you sort of bait them to ask. And the truth is, if they don't care about you, they don't have to ask. And that's a good thing to know. So now you're not rambling and totally talking their ear off to somebody who's just trying to get out of the conversation. This allows them to choose their own level of engagement. All right, so you say that. Yeah.
So I say,
what is your thing that you do?
I used to be a student in Philadelphia, but I actually left to do something I more care about.
I would take it bigger, to do something that I'm
really
fascinated by, super into, and I'm really happy to be doing it, right? You want to add as much of bait, big fat worm if you can, for them to grab onto.
Gotcha.
So they ask, okay, which is what?
Well, I moved to Rio to do something really incredible, which is try to be an entrepreneur and try to figure out what is really important in my life. And it's something that I haven't done ever. I went through high school just listening to my parents, and now I'm starting to figure out what really makes me fascinated and passionate.
Mm-hmm. So just workshopping this, what you can do here is add a bit of a story. And I don't want to get deep into stories, but we're going to go into that in the storytelling thing. If you're signed up for the entire Charisma University, you can jump over there. But I think a good way at this point is a brief story. So you say, so I was in school, and maybe you've had this experience. I was just floating by. Like, I was sitting there, you know, hanging out with my friends, drinking, smoking, but like not doing anything that was awesome. And honestly wasn't impressed with where I was. So my brother's got this business. He's a writer. He invited me down to Brazil. I figure, what the heck? Like, get on a plane, try it out. And while I was down there, I realized that what I really love to do is to blank, right? And fill that in. And so now you've sort of walked in through, like, you know, there was some tension at the beginning of the story. Like, you've experienced this, a little bit of a laugh of just drinking and smoking my face off all day, right? Mm-hmm. And then you get there. So this, again, is something that you can do. Workshop this. If you're not really fascinated by what you do as in a job, another way that you can take this, and I'll do it for fun sometimes, is they'll say, so what do you do? I'll be like, well, for fun or for work? In such a way that they go, well, whatever you want to tell me. Or they go, well, both, I guess. And then I get to talk about, if I want to talk about fun and I don't want to talk about my job, I can talk about, you know, things I do on the weekend, things that I do with my friends. You know, I can make jokes. I can pretend that I'm, you know, I'm out in Vegas and I'm stripping or whatever funny thing occurs to me in that moment. But you don't have to always answer this the same way. In fact, the idea is to play around with it, see what types of themes give you the best reaction. Because your goal is, at the onset of an interaction, it's just to talk for a few more seconds to see if you guys like each other and can find something that allows for serious conversation and not just get stuck on Philadelphia, New York, lawyer, accountant, blah, blah, blah. So I think that was good. Thanks for helping.
No problem.
Cool. Next. So we've arrived now at the fourth thing, which is turning it back on the person that you're engaging with. And I don't want this program to feel like this is all about me, and I've got to be cool and fun. Like, the whole point of this, and the reason that we don't put this first, is because the goal is to actually make a connection with the other person that both of you will remember. And unfortunately, by just focusing purely on them at the beginning, you don't allow yourself to do that in a lot of cases because they don't know enough about you to care. So the whole goal of the first things when you're being fun, when you're building trust, and when you're building respect, is really to get to this point where you guys can connect now. And now what you're going to do is almost turn the process back on them because you're genuinely curious. You know, what's fun about them? Do you trust them? And, you know, what about them do you respect? So one of the best ways to do this, you've now been talking for a couple minutes. Maybe you've gotten to where you're from, what you do, and you can start to tell, and this is what to look for, that the person is genuinely interested in continuing conversation with you. When there's a pause, they ask another question. Or as you're telling your where are you from, they follow up with more things. They say that's interesting. You watch their eye contact move potentially at the beginning of the conversation to distracted to more locked on you as you speak, and they're sort of nodding along with you. This is where you know that they're interested in you, and is a great time then to flip it and turn the focus back onto them. Because what you've done at this point is you've shown them that you're a person worth caring about. So they're going to want to show you the fascinating things about them, and now you can actually connect. So I like to think of this tip as just doing it exactly in reverse. So now you're going to find out what's fun, what you trust, and what you respect in them. And one of the best ways to do that is you're talking and go, I've been talking for a while, man. You got to tell me, like, what's your story? What are you about? And I like to keep that question very, very vague because it allows them to take it in whatever direction they want. Now, this might be daunting for some people. What they'll oftentimes answer is, well, like, what do you mean, what's my story? I'd be like, honestly, answer it in the way that you find most interesting, because that's what I'm curious about. And they can then talk to what they do. It also is a bit of a challenge for them, so they sort of work a little bit for your approval, kind of sneaky, but it works very, very well. And honestly, you'll get to topics that they care about. While they're talking, be thinking, you know, ask them questions that you genuinely care about. Do not just say, oh, that's so cool, that's so fascinating, travel, wow. Add your own stories to this. This is more the expert conversation part. We'll go into this. This is just one tip now to have it reflected back onto them. Another very simple way to turn the focus back on them. This one is straight out of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, with a little bit of flavor, I hope, that I've realized from my own experience. This one is remembering and saying their name. As Dale Carnegie says, no sound is as beautiful in any language as the sound of a person's name. And I realized this to great effect. There's actually, this was very recent, I've been doing MMA classes, which is sort of like Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, all that kind of stuff. And one of the coaches there, who is not like a super outgoing, charismatic dude, I realized that I was walking out, I go, like, I love him. He's like a great coach. I really like him. I can't wait to go to one of his fights. And I was thinking about why him. There's this other coach who is more gregarious, more funny. This guy's just sort of, he's quieter. But I realized that the first day that we met, he got everybody in the class's name, and for the rest of that class, used everybody's name. So he'd say, "Good job, Charlie, keep up at it, Dakota." And then when I walked in a week later, and he saw me walking in the lobby, he said, "How you doing, Charlie? You coming to class?" And I said, "Yeah." And it made me realize, that made me feel so liked by him. And what's funny is it made Dakota feel liked by him as well. He took the time, the effort to remember everybody's name, which made such a huge impact. Now, I know a lot of people, the first instinct to this is, I'm not good with names, I'm just not going to work on that one, whatever, I'll get by without it. Do this. You're crippling yourself if you're not. It is a skill like any other. So I want to talk about some ways that you can actually work to building names more easily. The first is this. The way memory works is, and people study wrong, unfortunately, memory, you can't just read a passage 100 times and have it stick in there and dry facts. Similarly, if I try to remember that guy's name is Dakota, that guy's name is Danny, that guy's name is Dakota, that guy's name is Danny, it does nothing for me. But if I can create some sort of image or some sort of emotional reaction and tie it to that image, then that stays. So this is true. Think back to your childhood. What are the moments that you remember? There are emotions or moments of high emotional intensity. Sometimes, maybe it was somebody broke a bone and you saw the blood and it was everywhere, right? That image is burned into your mind. Or maybe you went to Disney World and you saw the fireworks and it was so happy. That you save that. What you want to do is make names more pronounced in your memory. You don't run out of space. This isn't like a computer where you got to delete stuff. You can just continue to add as long as you make things a little bit emotionally charged and attach an image. So for instance, there's a kid in there whose name is Dakota. And I don't even know if this is an actress, but when I looked at him, I was like, okay, what does Dakota mean to me and how can I tie it to his name? I think there's that little girl whose name is Dakota Fanning or something, and I just thought he's got little blonde hair. He's a younger guy. He's got blonde hair, she's got blonde hair. I was like, oh, Dakota Fanning, right? And I looked at him, I sort of saw them standing next to each other. And the next time I looked at him, I saw, oh, Dakota Fanning. And it was very easy for me to immediately get his name. The coach's name, Danny. For whatever reason, that immediately, the first thought that popped into my head was Tum Thumpin' by Chumbawamba, right? Oh, Danny boy, right? Sorry for the terrible singing. But there's a lyric in that song that is Danny boy. And I imagined him just for a few seconds, drinking heavily, being wasted, getting knocked down, right? And that sort of tied in with the whole MMA thing. But Danny boy, for the rest of my life, probably I'll see him and go, oh, Danny boy. And this is how you can remember a name, not just in an instance. If you've ever had this happen, for a party you remembered someone's name, and then you leave and you see them in a week, you're like, shoot, I don't know what their name is at this point. When you create these emotional connections, they're lasting. So this is one way. Another way that I highly, highly recommend is that during conversation with this person, you say their name repeatedly. So be like, oh, really, that's so interesting, Danny. Or as they're talking, be like, Danny, I got to tell you, I was out the other day, I saw this girl, whatever. Say their name as an interjection in conversation. Now, I have to say, a lot of people show resistance to this. They don't like to do this. And I think it's because, if my experience is at all indicative, that they're nervous that they're going to get it wrong. So they're pretty sure it's Danny, but they're not 100% sure, so they just bite their tongue. And I will tell you, this is like any other skill, right? If you're unwilling to try to shoot a basketball because you're afraid that you're going to miss, you're going to be a pretty darn crappy shooter. If you're unwilling to try to get someone's name because you're afraid that you're going to get it wrong, then you're going to be terrible at it. And I can guarantee you, in terms of charisma and in terms of making an impact on people, you are better off flubbing a few names and building this skill to get it right than you are never saying somebody's name and doing that awkward thing where you at the end of an interaction, you whisper to somebody, what's his name, and hope to gather together then. So be willing to screw this up. Another story of someone who made a really, really positive impact and sort of crystallized this for me. There was a teacher in my high school. He was a sub, so he had, at one point, just about every student in the high school. And he would make it his goal to remember as many names as humanly possible, right? So there's 30 kids. Some of them don't even speak, and he's going through attendance, and then he's got another class and another class. And I remember one day, we were walking through the hallway, and he came up and he said to me, what's up, Ricky, or something. I said, what's up, Mr. Potts? It's Charlie. I said, I'm so sorry, Charlie. Like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean it. What is up, Charlie? Don't let me forget your name again. If I do, just slap me in the face. Right? I gave a smile. Didn't feel wonderful to have my name botched, right? It was unfortunate. But two things happened. One, he never messed it up again. And that basically counteracted the screw up and made me like him even more. And this was a substitute teacher who I still remember this day as a person that I liked and as someone who cared enough about people, despite the fact that he wasn't fantastic with names, to go out of his way to learn as many as he could. So I find that the biggest thing holding people back from this name thing is a mental thing. Either they convince themselves that it's small and unimportant, as I definitely did in the past, or they convince themselves that it's not worth learning, right? Because if they screw it up, whatever. Or they just say, I'm not a name person. All of those three excuses are BS. This is a really, really powerful skill. It's said that Bill Clinton knew over 50,000 names by the time that he had finished his presidency. And many of them would pop in and out of his life at random moments, and he could call them by their name. When you can do that, it is a superpower, right? That makes people feel instantly so, so special. So work on this. When you get somebody's name, the last little tip that I'll tell you, and you know you're going to want to remember it. This is something that I happen to do with doormen, bouncers, people that I see at clubs, and it's a quick interaction and then we're done. I have an Evernote where I will literally go in, and so I met the guy, his name is Les, and I'll say, Les, tall guy, blue suit, bald head, right? And I will type it into my Evernote and go on with my night. Then before I come back to the same club the next time, I'll look at it and I'll see it. And I can now I've had the experience of saying his name, writing his name. I've associated Les with a Les Paul, so I've seen him, jamming out on the guitar. All of those things help me to remember his name and build that connection. Side note, he lets us into the club for free when he doesn't let anybody else in, because I go up, I shake his hand, I say, hey, what's up, Les? How's the party tonight? So remember people's names. So, so important. So, so powerful. And one final tip, best used in conjunction with somebody's name, is to ask someone their opinion. As someone who really values his own opinion, I can tell you there are a few ways that are more powerful to make an impact on someone than by genuinely caring about what they think and basing a decision that you make on that. When you tie someone's name into it, this is when it gets most powerful. Because if I'm just talking to a person and it turns out that they live somewhere there, and I go, oh my gosh, I'd love to hear, tell me about Lower East Side. What's New York City like? Is it worth living there? What's the party scene like? Is there fun? Is there great restaurants nearby? What's the neighborhood? That is me treating this person as my Frommer's guide, right? Valuable information, but not necessarily do I really care about them. But when I say, oh my God, Dave, you've got to tell me about the Lower East. Did you like it there? What are the restaurants? All of a sudden, now it's personalized. It's not just me caring about the Lower East Side. It's me caring about Dave's opinion of the Lower East Side, which is a phenomenally different feeling for that person. So when you're asking two things. One, feel free to get people's advice on things. Now, granted, this is not what you want to start conversations with. I have to underscore this over and over and over. You want to do the fun, the trust, and the respect first. But when you're trying to shine a light on the other person, this is a fantastic way to do it. And then do it in a way that's personalized. Let them know that you care about their opinion. And if you can say, so a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people and I do not share the same things, but you and I have the same taste. I'd love to know what you think about this. Then they care. If you go, it seems like I would really value your opinion. It seems like you got a good head on your shoulders about this industry. Is it worth me getting into? Those sorts of things really, really, really make people feel good. So just one final tip to turn and reflect the interest back onto the person that you're speaking to so that they walk away thinking, wow, I really like that person. And it's because of how you made them feel. Well, that wraps up how to make an amazing first impression. The course now is done. What I want to do right now is just sort of go through top to bottom and talk about, in a very summary fashion, the things that we touched on so that you have them, and also highlight the homework, right? I hate the word, but you got to go out and actually practice this stuff to make an impact on your life. It can be tremendous, but if you treat it just as a mental exercise, oh cool, fascinating knowledge, it doesn't take you anywhere. You've got to actually do it. So, from top to bottom, mindset shift. It's not about you being impressive. It is about you inspiring feelings in the person that you're talking to. And namely, the 4R, fun and positivity, trust, respect, and then finally, the feeling that you are genuinely interested in them. So for fun, easy ways to do this. Smile. God, it helps so much, right? Genuinely build that good feeling in yourself. answering, how are you? Effusively, be positive, don't be good, be fantastic. Even if you're not feeling it, just by getting into that mode of starting to more often be great. When you're good, be great. When you're great, be amazing. When you're crappy, be like, it's been a tough day, but honestly, something else, add some positivity there. Really, really helpful, not just to make an impression on other people, but for your own mental state. That self-talk gets in there. Second, trust. This is so, so tactile, right? Shake people's hands. Don't forget this when you go into a room. Give them your focus when you're speaking to them. And tied in with respect is going to be revealing embarrassing things about yourself, right? A lot of people try to be super cool in their first interactions. When you can poke a little bit of fun at yourself in a playful way, that breeds insane amounts of trust and respect. Leading the conversation, especially with people who are in positions above you where you think you need to defer to their will and whim. They're tired of that. They want someone with a little bit of spine who will talk to things that they're interested in. And again, as you talk to things you're interested in, it's going to be more fun for you, so you'll be more animated. And they're going to trust you more because you're not trying to play the game in any sort of manipulation. You're really just expressing what it is you want to talk about. At this point, so we got through the first three. You also want to hammer and really, really get these questions. Where are you from? What do you do? If there's any other specific to your life and context, take these out and workshop these. And be thinking of two things. One, open loops. How can I say this in such a way that gets a typical response of a question? Oh, really? Tell me more about that. Wait, what industry were you in? Where did you live abroad? These sorts of things get them engaged, and you know that they're interested at that point. If they don't ask, great. That lets you know that this person isn't interested. But you've got to take the questions out, take your responses out and workshop them to sort of know this. So the first thing is open loops. The second thing is just having lots of hooks in there, like Velcro, right? If I say one thing, the person has one potential route to respond to. That's tough. If I say 5 different things, they can go in 5 different paths, and maybe we can find something to relate on really easy, and then just run about some common interests, which is great. Moving past that, we got the smile practice, right? And then at the end, it is all about turning it back on them, how to be interested in them. So how to ask engaging questions, to ask them to bring out their story from them. Focus on remembering their name. I know this is a pain in the butt. I hate it myself, but it is such a powerful tool. And then, of course, there was one other thing. That's the most important part, though. So focus on these things. Of course, at any time, if you have any questions, hit me up. As somebody who's gone through this course, I want you to do this. I want this to impact your life in a way that makes participating in this such a no-brainer in terms of time and money that you've invested, because it really can be a life-changing skill. This can get you thousands of dollars in a promotion and get you the love of your life in the relationship. It can meet you a new best friend, but you've got to use it and you've got to workshop it. So if you're running up against any sort of blocks, whether it's mental or an application, hit me up. Charlie@charismaoncommand.com. Let me know you're in the course. I absolutely will get back to you and make sure that you are continuing to move forward. If you are participating in the rest of Charisma University, awesome. Looking forward to sharing all the other videos that we have on expert conversation, storytelling, confidence, blah, blah, blah. There's tons of them, and they're going to be awesome. So I'll see you there. Either way, very much looking forward to you going out in the world and making the most amazing, most positive impressions that you can. So thank you for being part of this course.